Hello, everybody. This is episode 6 of Existential. Today, we have an interesting and ethical episode for you. But before we dive in, I want to give a brief thanks to our sponsor. All right, so today I want to dive into a very moral and ethical idea, and it's pretty interesting because it's actually a relatively widespread idea and pretty widely applicable. Uh, or more so that you can actually see it manifest in your life. The idea is very simple. You cannot rule by authority and expect respect in return, right? When I say this, I'm primarily looking at more leaders, right? Leader type people, people who are in a position of authority or naturally in a position of authority. And I'm not talking about rules. Oh, you do this, do that. I'm talking about even in interpersonal relationships, even in any context where you have the upper end on anything. That's what I'm kind of defining as authority. The word authority comes from the root word of author, right? Author, you're an author, you are an authority on the subject of which you're writing about. But right, so my argument simply states that you cannot rule by authority and expect respect in return, right? And here's kind of, we're going to kind of dive into why, right? People are arrogant. Human beings are naturally arrogant. In many respects we are, and some of us deal with it and some of us don't, and some of us respond to it in certain ways, and some of us express it loudly, some of us keep it internally, right? But point being is that when two people who are arrogant clash, right, it's never a good scene, right? I'm always reminded of the Big Bang mentally, right? Whenever I kind of see that, it kind of reminds me too of a Bunsen burner, right? In like science class, for instance, right? The only way to see the fire is by putting a sparker, right? One arrogant individual with another egoist, right? That is a catalyst for either an underlying hatred for one another, or two, a pissing battle. In other words, just to kind of testify who is indeed the bigger man here, right? Who is the more masculine of the two. It's a very kind of alpha male evolutionary type scene, right? It's a very caveman like thing, right? Who's the alpha male, right? Yes, there are. Yeah, are we expressing this caveman animalistic tendency, right, through in like the way gorillas do? Obviously not, right? We use human cues. That means who has the stronger handshake, right? Who comes off as better, who has better posture, who has the better girl, right? Who has more money, who has, right? It's human measures, right? In the jungle, it's who's stronger, and because human beings are civilized, because we have a consciousness, unlike animals, we express our men's or alpha males express their alpha male ship in a different way. So to go off on that, a little bit of a tangent, right? But authority ignites authority in a different in two authoritarians, right? Egoists, conversely, right? Egoists and humble people are all like respect, right? Everybody likes respect. People are Very few people are kind of immune to this. To you're either arrogant or you're humble or you're dealing with it, right? I mean, or you're kind of figuring yourself out. You're one of the three options. You're either one or two, or figuring out which number you are, right? But there's nobody immune in the larger picture. When everyone is at peace with themselves, there is nobody who does not identify with either humility or arrogance. That being said, right, egoists and humble people altogether, every human being appreciates respect, right? Egoists like respect. Egoists and the humble all appreciate respect. There is a widespread universal appreciation for respect, right? It always reminds me of like I don't know. I saw this picture a while ago depicting a Native American tribe, right, and their leader kind of coming up, right, and extending, and on the other side, right, is these fat Americans, and the Native Americans walked over right into the middle of the ground, right. The head of the Americans and the head of the Indians kind of shook hands, right, and then you can see in the picture the Native American is extending a horn, right? And this horn is like obviously decorated, whatever it is, right, to kind of depict it's a gift, right? And it kind of reminds me that everybody appreciates respect. Everyone has a liking for respect. And that being said, right, would you speak if you were giving a speech to the everybody from the entire world? Would you give it in English, right, where only certain people can understand what you're saying, or would you speak a universal language, right? Would you speak with music, if love and respect could be expressed lingually, right? Would you that would be the ideal language, right? It's a universal language. It is a universal language that surpasses it surpasses everything, right? So respect, we see from here, just before even diving into something big, right, that respect is the best way to deal with it's the best way to kind of deal with authority, right? And this is going to be pretty widespread throughout the entire podcast, is that always look at the opposite. You can learn so much about you can learn so much about what you're researching by researching and understanding the opposite, right? If your friend reacts with this magnitude to this event, he will react with this magnitude to an opposite event, right? I mean, it's like you can learn so much from the opposites. But anyway, authority, right? Authority is a very, very attractive attribute, right? It's kind of almost in the job title when you are an authoritarian, right? When you are in a position of authority, right? It's kind of in the job description, right? You kind of remove yourself from the blame, like, hey, I'm not being a right, I'm not being a dick if I'm being an authoritarian, right? That's just part of my job. You and your job as an authoritarian are kind of two different entities. But authority, like ego, is safer for the individual. There are actual attractions to being to being in a position of authority. It is safer for the individual, no doubt about that. It is safer because ego is a safety net from vulnerability, and authority is better understood by a crowd. You know, and I was just preaching for a few minutes just about how respect is the better way to deal with other people, right? Is the better way and more moral way to deal with other people, right? But at the end of the day, which one can actually accomplish more results, right? In other words, which one respect can only go that far. Respect can only travel that much of a distance before people don't feel like listening to you. Because after all, respect is something that people want to give you. Respect, listening because of respect is an extension of me liking you, right? I respect you, I respect who you are, and in lieu of my liking for you, due to the fact that you are someone who I like, I'm going to respect you by listening to you. Me listening to you is a form of reciprocating the respect. And this reciprocation makes it kind of voluntary. In other words, when an authoritarian, right, when someone with respect respects you, right, and you're respecting him back, right, you respect him back, you really, wow, I respect him, I understand where he's coming from, right, I respect him and I want to listen to him. But you see, I want to listen to him, right? This makes it a willing, conscious decision. I want to listen to him. So it's a choice, right? So when you're with respect, it's a very, very malleable state, right? Very malleable state of authority. And authority is much better understood. Respect is much more appreciated, but authority is better understood. If respect is in terms of getting the authority to, right? Respect would be English with an accent, while authority would be straight English, like the way I'm talking right now. Authority is better understood by the crowd. People have a very, have almost like an evolutionary sense of authority figures or people who kind of tower over them. He is a potential threat to my emotional state, right? He could potentially offend me, and I'm going to put my wall up, right? It's a very, very fight or flight reaction. So people are better trained to see and feel authority, especially growing up, especially in a society or in any society with police or any government form of authority, or any body of authority that's, you're constantly understanding, right? There is a constant reminder of what it's like to be under authority. So it's better understood, it's better internalized, and it's better really, yeah, interpreted. It's better interpreted than respect is. And authority, by the way, you don't have to deal with the moral and ethical repercussions, positive repercussions no less, about respect. But before we dive any deeper, I want to give another brief thanks to our sponsor. All right, so we're back. And so we just got off talking about how authority is better interpreted by a crowd rather than respect is. Because respect, you have to deal with the actual ethical and moral questions about what it means to have respect, right? In other words, if I'm respecting somebody and I'm listening to them, right? There's a lot of thought process that goes in. Oh, he's listening to me because of this. I'm doing this the right way. There's a lot of thought process that you kind of allow yourself to go through when you rule by respect, right? But when you rule the strictly authoritarian in a very authoritarian way, right? You become much more. You become a kind of it's a very barbaric way to deal with people. But by the way, it gets the job done, right? That's why it's very attractive. People like power, and people want to get the job done, right? People always need other people to answer to, and it's attractive, right? So you have this there's a very normal reason and a very justifiable reason to why authority should be, in fact, the way people should interact. I say, you do. Job gets done. 1, 2, 3. There are no thoughts. There's no emotional dialogue. There is none of that. Absolutely none of that. I say, you do. Job gets done. Everyone's happy, right? But really happy? Absolutely not. Everyone's satisfied only to the extent that the job was done, right? That everyone completed their goal, all the gears worked, and the car began to move, right? That's it. That's the only extent to which people are satisfied, right? But when the job gets done through respect, there is a mutual admiration for everybody who worked, right? All the gears that made the car work, all the gears that made the process work, have a mutual appreciation, right? If my authority told me, if I respected him because of due to respect or due to authority or due to any of that, right? If I respect him, right, and we kind of got the job done through a very peaceful, nice, understanding manner, right? While there is more kind of soft emotions, kind of calmly embedded in the dialogue, kind of in the dialogue mentally, right? There's still an understanding that, hey, there is a mutual admiration and pride for like, hey, this was a teamwork thing, right? This was not just a very barbaric process. I say, you do, we get done, everyone's happy, right? everyone's everyone admires each other, everyone sees the work, right? It's a much more healthy process, everyone leaves better. That's the way, by the way, just to go off on a little bit of a tangent here, and this is how people can enjoy doing work. When the actual work, when what you're working toward, right, when what you're let's say you're building a building, right, there are 100 workers on site, right? If you guys are just focusing on it for the money or for whatever it is, I'm sure that I'm confident that maybe just, yeah, the job gets done, you have your money, you go back to your family, you fed your family, everything's good, right? But you're building the building. But picture a different idea. Picture the fact, or the possibility that all 100 people know each other, and it's ruled by respect. People understand each other. People understand the respect. People understand, hey, we're working together here. We're each gears. I understand that you have value in here, and the entire process would not be the same if you weren't here, right? One of the gears is missing, and so they emphasize personal value, right? That's ruling by respect, right? You emphasize everyone's value. And once the building is done, it's not just I did my job, it's I did my job, and everyone kind of looks at each other with admiration and this very warm feeling. Everyone kind of leaves home with a warm feeling, right? And that's something, that is a feeling that you do not get in authority, but you do with respect. That is the payoff. Again, we're always, a common theme we've looked at in almost every episode is, what is the trade-off? Yes, it costs more, but what is the cost and benefits, right? What is the benefit? The benefit of being involved in a team rather than a barbaric system of command is that people can leave in a much more healthy way. People leave, but unfortunately, right, people are very inconsiderate and do not care about a lot of these different elements, right? They care more about the safety of their paycheck than to kind of risk getting into it into a different realm, right? It kind of risk getting to a different realm of different area of what it's like, right? Of right, I mean, just a different area of just respect and dialogue and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's working becomes enjoyable. Working becomes fun when the atmosphere is enjoyable and can be convivial at times, right? In the right context, the work can even be convivial, but the work becomes enjoyable at the point where the job supersedes and surpasses the actual goal at hand. The job is no longer the building, but we are doing this in the name of teamwork and effort. Mutual admiration, mutual pride. We all respect each other and emphasize each other's value. This is not an idea. This is what I'm talking about by the extra self-dialogue and respect. All these different attributes that I just mentioned are present exclusively in respect and not ruled by authority. So that's that. But and just to kind of return to the point at hand. Respect is a more humble demeanor, right? Respect is a much more. It takes a lot more humility, and it takes out the thrilling control of power. Everybody, but specifically men, have a natural desire to be in a position of power, to be in control of power. And with that control, there's a very thrilling feeling. There's a very thrilling desire to be in control and want to control, just want to have power, right? I want to control you. It's an extension of the alpha male idea. It's an extension of the alpha male mindset. Thrilling control, there's a thrilling and enjoyable feeling to having power. And when someone works out of respect, not only is there a possibility that the workers won't listen, or those who are listening to you, those who you have authority over, will not listen to you, but you also, as the authoritarian, don't have the thrilling control of power. You don't have what is attractive in having power anymore, right? All you are doing is using your skills as for management. All you're doing is managing a scene, right? But there is no actual authority going on, right? And this is probably this aspect most, in my guess, that takes many men, specifically in a position of power, right? This is probably what prevents them from ruling with respect and ruling by authority, right? They don't want to rule by respect because it takes a more humble demeanor, which is already out of reach to unspeakable extents, but it also takes out the thrilling control of power, right? There is a loss of power, and it goes completely contrary to the desire of every man in many ways. As we were mentioning earlier, right? You have to listen to other people, right? By respect, you listen to other people, and it cheapens the leadership role. Again, there is a certain, when you have the thrilling control, that's expressed in your mind as glory, right? You are now glorified. You are glorified, and you have more importance. You have more value, which in turn contributes to the weight of your purpose in this world. No authority is highly related to your importance, and your importance is highly related to your purpose. They're all highly intertwined with one another, and when someone is, there are very few people who are willing to give up the leadership role, which makes them feel important, which empowers their purpose for the betterment of other people. That takes much more than a humble demeanor. In fact, that takes a lot. That's a very, very humble individual to be able to reach such levels. It does take out the thrilling control, and it cheapens the role. It cheapens the role from a glorified image of you having the bandwidth to control any part of the system, right? To kind of let it get to your head, right? It kind of cheapens it to a much more just everyday, regular Joe type of job, right? Like it's just me doing my job, right? It's not, there's no glory behind it. The feeling and emotion behind being in a control of power reduces by a significant amount when you choose to rule with respect. Additionally, it's hard to give respect to authoritarians, right? Or I'm sorry, by respect, it's hard to give people respect sometimes. Authority, as we said, is a very barbaric way of doing things, right? You're doing the task at hand in the name of whatever you're there for, right? There's no actual obligation for you to do it. Rather, you are there in order to do something else. So in such a way, you are forced to listen to your authoritarian. You need to listen to him or her because, or else you don't get what you're working for. You don't get what you're paid for. You don't get paid. So that's that, right? So in the name of what you want, you listen to the authoritarian. And no matter if you want to respect him or you don't, really doesn't matter. There's still a very colossal need to respect him or to demonstrate respect. Sometimes if I don't like a boss or a teacher or whoever it may be, right? I'm not it my respect for them or my the way I appear to respect them is so loosely dependent on how I feel. There is very little my mood and my actual personal feeling about that person is so it has no bearing on the way I come off, right? I need to be, to the extent that I need to look my best in front of my boss, right? I need to look my best in front of whoever it is. I have to respect them, no matter if I think he's an asshole or if I think he's the greatest man who has ever walked the earth. So, no matter what it is, right? A position of leadership through authority requires respect. Not, again, going back to the fact that ruling by respect gives the subject a choice whether to respect you or not, right? I really want to respect you. There is a willingness to respect, and by authority there is a need to respect. There is a requirement to respect, or else you sacrifice losing your position. So the hardest part, one of the hard things about ruling by respect is that sometimes people don't want to give you respect. Just because you rule by respect, you don't all of a sudden, your aura doesn't just change to, golden magical messiah, and all of a sudden people are naturally attracted to you. All the bunnies start running toward you and all the flowers grow all different colors, right? It's not all rainbows and unicorns, right? It's a very, sometimes people don't want to give respect. How about switch the roles for a second? The person in authority and the person in who is humble but the worker. Let's say roles switched. Let's say the person in the authority, in the position of authority, is the man with is the guy with humility and rules by respect, and the subject has an ego, right? Wants to be the authoritarian. It is very understandable that they don't want to give respect. It's very understandable that you would not want to that they would not want to give respect to the elder at hand, right, or the authority figure, because they're like whatever, they're below me, right? They show no, I don't want to give him respect. Right, so especially by arrogant people, you see that there is a high nerve and unwillingness to give respect, right? But that's not. I don't want to narrow it down to egoists and those who are arrogant. Rather, it's everybody on some days just doesn't want to feel like they have respect or want to give respect. Some days people feel disrespected. When people feel disrespected, they don't want to give respect. They want to disrespect others. When people feel respect, they want to reciprocate the respect, right? And by the way, that's what I believe to be the entire idea behind this, like, hey, give a smile today to someone else, right? Because a smile, while or like a yawn, right, it could be somewhat infectious. It can be infectious in a superficial manner, right? But however, Yeah, well, it could be infectious in a superficial manner, right? Oh, I smile, you smile, right? Decency thing, right? It is underlying. I have a good mood, it kind of transfers over to you. I transfer over to someone else, right? So it's a very very simple chain. It is actually people who don't who receive respect want to pass it on, right? There's a natural desire to pass it on. So, yeah, it is great sometimes to rule by respect because everything gets done better. But sometimes just people don't want to give you respect because they haven't received respect. Again, when you're ruling in a very barbaric, authoritative manner, any one of all your problems from home, all your problems from anywhere else stays at the door, and you walk in ready to receive commands, right? All your ego, all your everything is goes flying out the window, and the only thing present is you and your willingness to take orders from the superior, right? And that's a and you don't have a choice whether to give respect. So, right, so that it makes the process very very simple, but sometimes the simple and kind of almost mentally difficult way isn't good. Now we go back, right? Respect changes your aura. It makes people want to respect you. Now, I've been around people who I respect so much and who have such a respectable aura about an energy about themselves. Right, not to get too third eye on here, but I've met people who are so understand, so respectful and so respectable. Right, so you just really want to give them respect that even though I am not in the mood, even though I'm not in the mode of giving respect, right? I feel disrespected. I was trashed. I was hurt, right, by someone else. And I'm not quite in the mood to give respect. There's just like there's just an overbearingly strong desire to give that person respect, and it does change your aura. Having respect does change your aura. It makes people more comfortable. It makes people safe, and makes people feel respected. When you respect someone who is respectable, they reciprocate the respect, right? They reciprocate the liking. They reciprocate it all. So I want to give you an example, right? I want to take you back to mid 1850s and the American Industrial Revolution. So we look at a man with a last name of Westinghouse, right? He's an American industrialist, and when he died, he had a grand total of 50,000 employees attend his funeral. Right, this is an obvious result of the way he treated his employees. He was known, he was like notorious, positively notorious for treating his workers in a really good way, really positive fashion, and as a result, 50,000 of his employees attended his funeral. Did he have the cutthroat business practices of the other tycoons at his time? No, he didn't. The other ones were harsh labor hours. They didn't care. But it was him who had 50,000 employees attend his funeral. And we look back, authority gets the job done. Respect ensures the jobs will get done in the future. Authority can do it right now and probably will, but people don't really want to do it. Respect means the job gets done now. It gets done 9 out of 10, while authority can do it 10 out of 10. But no one's going to want to come back for another 10 out of 10, right? But when you rule by respect, the job may be done 9 out of 10, but you bet your ass they're going to want to come back to fulfill the other upcoming jobs, because again, when the job supersedes the actual job at hand, there is in other words, be it through teamwork, be it through any other emotion that's spread through respect, people adore that. And you know uh, authority is cold, robotic, and totalitarianistic, but respect will create a desire to work. It is quite a manipulative process, right? Respect will create a desire to work. I mean, repeat that, right? Respect will create a desire to work. People will want to work for you when they see that you are someone who when they see that they're being respected, right? When people see themselves being validated and respected and understood and emphasized and given value, people want to continue this. It's so like evolution is it's so evolutionary, right? It's a very like, I like it. I want to receive it more, right? Again, learned behavior. Not to go. Not again. I want to emphasize this episode as well, right? In any episode I try to. I am not a psychologist, nor am I a professional, right? But I do a considerable amount of research on a lot of the topics I talk about, mixed with my own personal philosophy. But anyway, getting back to the topic at hand, right? People create a desire to work, right? Learned behavior. In psychology, I learned that there is an idea called learned behavior, that I learned that certain events happen this way to me, and that way my mind will create walls for future events, right? That's a whole different topic, right? But when people work, right, when you work, right, let's say you make shoes. When you make shoes, right, that's not a really good thing, right? But when you sell the shoes and someone tells you, hey man, I love these shoes, I love the shiny, I love the leather, I love everything about the shoe, right? And then he hands you the money, it no longer is about the money as much as it is about the admiration, compliments about your work. Right, people feel validated, and that's one of the reasons a lot of people like continuing what they do, because it is a source of ongoing validation. And this validation with no cap is a very, very, very attractive idea. So, but before we wrap this episode off, I want to give another sponsor break. And we're back. So, people easily notice ego and in turn authority. When people don't like respecting you, they have to, but that does not contribute to a healthy workspace. People like respect and like receiving it in return. Does this contribute to a very leisure and a very more laid back experience? Are people less vulnerable? Are people less on guard? And are people less snappy when they respond to you? Unfortunately not, right? People don't listen to the respect as much as they do the authority. But the overall health of the workspace, the overall health of the dynamic of any authority subject relationship can be vastly improved with the incorporation of mutual respect. People feel automatically belittled in the face of or confrontational in the face of authority. And people conversely feel comfortable and safe, secure, admired, and validated in the face of respect. So with that, we are going to close. But again, I apologize. Today has been a long episode, but I think it's been a pretty good one, no less. But thank you so much for listening. All your support helps. Be sure to tune in daily for new episodes of Existential.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.